Welcome, Bulldog football fans, and for that matter, fans of all Southeastern Conference football programs, as your long summer drought is over. Football practice has begun. Steve, we just had a chance to watch about 4 periods of Coach Joe Robertson's second fall camp getting underway. Just kind of a general impression of the atmosphere you got both talking to coaches and players today.
I think everybody's ready to go, and I think the cooler temperatures probably helped a little bit in that regard too. But, David, typical first practice. I mean, you see some balls that you kind of sail askew a little bit. And, but the bottom line is the energy level was good, and that's what coaches want to see today. I mean, execution will come as they refine things over the course of the fall camp. But, a good first day from what we saw.
And a lot of guys obviously in good condition. You can tell the new strength program has really done a good job over the summer getting these guys, but it takes great material to work with as well. And some of the guys, I think I commented that Nathan Pickering is the biggest number 22 jersey I have ever seen out at Mississippi State. But guys like him were looking really good. Offensive line seemed to be in really good shape. You saw the receivers moving well. General, let's talk quick about health. As far as we know right now, Alec Murphy is sidelined, running back there. And then, Kendall Jones, yes, and he was out for much of spring as well. We kind of expected that. And in July, Coach Joe Moore had said that he should be back sometime in the season. And also not present, I have not learned how to pronounce his name yet, but King Ani. He is out. He is not here. He will report with the full 120 when the roster expands, but he's expected to miss this whole fall season. Yeah,
we're expecting him to redshirt, and that's okay. I mean, he's coming in at a position of need projection-wise. He's not needed to play this year, so redshirt you'll be good for him. Let him get ahead academically and also to get in the strength and conditioning program and get up to SEC speed. But also, punter Corliss Waitman, kind of conspicuous in his absenteeism today. We will ask Coach Joe Moorhead about that once we see him a little bit later. But that was, something we weren't really expecting today. You get out there and you start taking pictures of the newcomers, and certainly he's not there, and you ask, hey, what's going on with this guy? So we have to ask Coach, and so we plan to.
As far as the other more high-profile graduate transfers, yes, Tommy Stevens is here. Isaiah Zuber is here. Zuber seems healthy running the routes, and he was working, by the way, at the slot position. I noticed that the depth of the slot was still what you'd expect. Dedrick Thomas, your first guy. Austin Williams, who we thought might move to split end, is still working in the slot, and then Isaiah Zuber behind him. Malik Deer remains at the split end position. Cyrus Mitchell, wearing a new number 5, looked awfully good out there as far as the drills we watched. Tommy Stevens, okay, I'm sure you focused on him a while. What was your takeaway from now that we finally got to see him, albeit in practice gear, but still a Mississippi State uniform?
Well, I'll agree with Jim Nagy's assessment that he is as big as advertised. And there's a lot of these program heights and weights you kind of take with a grain of salt. Not him. He looks to be a legitimate 6'5", 6'6", definitely a big arm. Got some video we'll post tomorrow for people to kind of see him and Keaton. Interestingly enough, and it should have been this way, Keaton Thompson takes the first reps. Keaton, the winner of the spring competition, he comes out, and then Stevens goes with the second group. And so, interesting, so there's a lot of Bulldog fans out there thinking, hey, where's Keaton in the mix here? I think Joe Moore had kind of showed the day that, hey, yes, Tommy, you got the nuances of the offense down, but you're chasing number 10. And so that competition will be something that will dominate most of our conversation during the fall.
And obviously we can't watch the 11-on-11, so we really don't know what the depth chart truly stands. Well, of course, Paul Jones will put a projected depth chart up there just from position drills that we saw today. It would have been shocking and probably not very wise to have gone out there and put a brand new guy with the first team for the very first snap of fall ball. I know that's what the fans want to see. And honestly, you and I do expect Tommy Stevens to probably end up being the number 1 quarterback. But I would have been stunned if Keaton Thompson had not taken those first snaps with the first team.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good way to lose your locker room, too. I mean, this is a guy that's gone to war with you, won a couple ball games for you, played, been through all-season conditioning drills a couple of years, and all of a sudden a new guy shows up. You're not going to hand him to the keys to the car until he's ready to run it. And so that's big. One of the things that I noticed too, David, you and I had a chance to observe some defensive line drills. Chauncey Rivers running first team as expected. Marquis Spencer running opposite with him. Right. The second group, Kobe Jones and Aaron Odom. And Aaron Odom's a name, but kind of a highly recruited guy. State had to flip back from Louisville late in the process. We've been kind of waiting for him to come into his own. Begins fall camp running second team. And that's a position where we have some depth and some talent, and really don't think there's no Montez Sweat in the group. But by committee, it should be a good group at end. Now, defensive tackle, that's still a work in progress.
Of course, offensive line, we had a quick look at. No changes of note there. We think that there will be no problem having Darrell Williams adapt to the center position because he's been groomed for this basically the 4 years he's been here. Looking at the receivers, I ran through some of those guys. Tight end, Brad Cumbus is running third team there, but I expect him to make some moves up there. But Powers Warren, I noticed, was getting some second team snaps as well, obviously behind Farrod Green. Tight end looks to be a really good position this year.
It does, but I tell you, the guy that stood out to me was Jaquarius
I
Spivey.
thought you mentioned that.
He looks like a jumbo receiver, a true spread tight end, and we were kind of waiting for him to make a jump. You know, last year the assumption was he wouldn't play because there was so much depth at the group. Well, now he's a full bona fide player that's expected to play, and watching him today, he looks like a real weapon in this offense.
And as far as defense, too, Brian Cole's back to full speed. Of course, he played some in the spring game. They protected him most of the spring there. He looked in magnificent shape. I mean, and people tend to forget that at this point in camp last year, it was not a sure thing who was going to start at that safety position between John Abram and Brian Cole. And now Brian Cole has a position himself. That looks like a good group of safeties out there. You know what the linebackers have to work with. All right, let's flip to the other side, running back. There is one player who is not here as the moment. And so what have you learned for the update on Kareem Walker?
Well, he's just simply waiting for his transcript to be certified, and he's going to be good to go. And so that's just a matter of days. No need to panic. We want him here, but it's one of those situations, too, where it's not a panic situation until you get to drop ad date, and that's not going to happen for a couple more weeks. But he'll be fine. He'll be in the fold. One thing I want to say, Dave, before we move on from defense, first-team linebackers, Errol Thompson, Leo Lewis played in front of Willie Gay, and that's something I don't think many of our fans anticipated. Leo Lewis begins fall practice running first team.
But they're almost interchangeable, too, because they were getting so many snaps. And Lewis, and we had all these accounts that spring was very good for him, and his position coaches were bragging on him in the summer, saying he has that long-awaited jump after a good freshman season. He kind of hit a wall. It seems like he has broken through at last, and that's great for both him and Willie Gay because the competition can only make those two better.
Absolutely, and I think that's a position group that's going to be the heart of this defense. You feel good about that back seven. The front four is still kind of a work in progress, but you feel good about the back seven, and that's the linebacker group really kind of leading the charge there.
So as Steve mentioned, we'll be talking to Coach Joe Moorhead following today's practice. It'll be about 2 hours in headgear and sweats. Well, actually not sweats. They're sweating, but they're in, you know what we're talking about. They're in the shorts out there right now. The pads won't go until next Wednesday. They'll be in partial gear the first 2 days of next week. There are 3 scheduled scrimmages for this fall. All practices are closed. I hate to tell you all you fans that, but including the scrimmages are closed to media and fans. The practices are closed to fans as well. We'll get some limited looks there. But just count on us to keep updating you. I said Paul will be posting the depth chart. Gene has shot a photo gallery. We'll get a couple of quick photos up, hopefully of Tommy Stevens and Isaiah Zuber. And he'll have a photo gallery again tomorrow. There's an observation period for photos, but no interviews tomorrow. So we will have Coach Joe Moorhead tonight and any other material we get from today's news. So follow our transcript. Steve will have the video up as well. So again, football season, at least the preseason portion, is back underway here at Mississippi State around the Southeastern Conference, and so you can begin to live again. Football is here. For Steve Robertson, Paul Jones, Gene Swindoll, Robbie Falk, and the rest of our crew, Mike Nemeth and myself from the Gene's Page 24/7, it's time for football, folks.